Hello viewers, this is yet another edition of the Sunday Live podcast as we bring to you the sports wrap where we look at the sports news that has been making the headlines over the past week. Today I'm joined by, it's a familiar face to me but unfamiliar face to the viewers, that is Innocent Korira. We call him Skizo. Skizo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mehluli. Couldn't be here on a better day.
So today we're talking the ZIFA suspension of the post suspension by the SRC. We're talking the referees. There's been issues to do with the referees. We're talking the Chibuku Super Cup. We're talking the ICC World Cup qualifiers, the women's qualifiers taking place in Zimbabwe, and we're talking the Sebulls losing to Namibia in the Stellenbosch Challenge. And of course, to kick things off, Skizo, Tuesday last week we got the news that the SRC had decided to suspend the ZIFA board. What was your reaction to that?
Personally, I was shocked because I failed to find the logic of such a move, in the sense that we know the stance that the FIFA are going to take. FIFA are clear, I think, in stating that they don't want any government interference in things to do with any sport. But in this case, we have gone the route of suspending the ZIFA board, which we know very well won't go well with FIFA. We have seen what they have done with Kenya, where they've threatened to suspend the board entirely, and to suspend the board and to suspend Kenya actually from taking part in international matches. Are we ready as a country to go to that same route? I don't think so. Already we are coming from 2 years of COVID-19 where we have yet no football, and already we are now facing another ban again. So what are we saying about the talent that is in the country? What are we saying about the growth of football in the country? Are we going to be adding more years of non-football, because we can't be playing social when we are playing local without any international football to play?
Of course, Skizo, we're all hoping that the SRC and the suspended, ZIFA board do find common ground in this whole standoff, because it's not, it cannot be good for our country. I've seen the SRC saying that we're prepared for the consequences of maybe a FIFA ban, but I won't agree with that entirely, with that statement, because it doesn't affect Kamambo, it doesn't affect Mlochwa, it affects our referees. They don't get international assignments. Your clubs don't go to CAF Champions League or Confed Cup. The national team at the West right now preparing to go to AFCON. At the West, the Warriors might not go to AFCON 20, just the one that's coming up in the next 2 months in Cameroon. That's the West case scenario, and we're hoping it won't get there. So we're all hoping that the SRC and ZIFA, the ZIFA board led by Kamambo, they do find common ground in this whole standoff, because it cannot be good for. It affects the players, affects the referees, affects our national team, even teams. Even the Mighty Warriors, they're meant to play in AFCON qualifiers in the coming months. It cannot be good, because you become an outcast as a country. You get thrown out of all this, and it for any player growing up, thinking that I cannot play for my national team, be it at CHAN, be it at AFCON. So I'm hoping that the SRC and the ZIFA board somehow find each other in this whole standoff, because it cannot be good for the country. After all, I don't think that we're not a top country in the world playing football. In football nation in the world. So FIFA we saw with ICC 2 years ago, they didn't even blink in suspending our membership, and the worst case scenario was us coming back as 105 in the world or whatever, as lowest ranked country had we been suspended, had we been kicked out of the ICC. So we cannot afford that same route of saying that, no, let's get suspended, we'll fix we'll rather solve our issues while we're playing. A lot of things have gone wrong in our football. And some of us, grew up with the era of the dream team. But that team never achieved even anything. I mean, that team never went to AFCON. That team never. So a lot of things have gone wrong in our football, and we cannot say that maybe removing Kamambo would suddenly solve our problems and wake up maybe being a top country in the world. So we're hoping that this issue is solved. And then the third development, I mean, that happened soon after that announcement of that suspension. I was a Powerful Stadium myself. Ngez Platinum were meant to play Highlanders in a league match, and then the referees, they were there, and then they were not there. Yeah. You know what happened with the Wange crew disappearing from stadium at Powerful Stadium, and then it all happened throughout the country. Well, do you think it was a good move for the referees to?
Certainly not. These are some of the consequences that our football is going to face because of this development. You look at it, the referees, some of them went to the stadiums and decided not to whistle, and then some of them maybe they never went to the stadiums, but it was a background of what had happened on the previous day. Then you begin to ask yourself, for a team like Bulawayo Chiefs that had traveled to Mutare, you look at those expenses. Our teams, as it is, we know our teams are struggling, and then you put teams with such an expense. We are killing our teams.
Ngezi came all the way to Bulawayo, with even a ZTN crew coming all the way from Harare to screen that game live, and that game does not take place. So you can just imagine the expenses that were incurred by all stakeholders, the TV crews, the teams that came down all the way from wherever they were coming from, and then we don't know. We gave instruction. We're not assuming anything, but whether there was an instruction or the referees themselves said that they don't want to go on the field because the board has been suspended. We're not sure, so we won't. But it was bad. Whoever made the decision, whether it was refs themselves or it was a suspended board who said no, referees don't go because we don't appoint you. But whoever made that decision, it was a terrible decision at the end of the day.
Terrible as it was, I think it was a quick highlight of what we should expect in the future. If these two guys never find common ground to say they are coming together, and you look at what FIFA did in Cameroon and other countries where they have set up committees, normalization committees. Maybe that's the route. Maybe that we hope FIFA maybe may take, so that maybe we can have those. Maybe we can normalize things. Because right now, I think we can't afford to have SRC at loggerheads with FIFA.
All right. Then to talk about the referees, we're just 2 weeks, into the new season, and there are issues about the referees. We saw Machoni, the ref, has already been frozen out for that decision not to give maybe the harshest of punishments to Chaure, the Dynamo's captain, for that tackle that the whole has seen against Yada. And then we hear there are also issues in the match between Dynamos and FC Platinum, the Chibu Super Cup game, where the referee to be, escorted out of the field by the police with some hooligans paying for his blood. What's your take? What do you think? Do you think our referees might have been affected by COVID, that they don't know how to officiate anymore?
Partly, maybe. We can say they've been affected by COVID because we remember there were no courses and stuff. They were only saying just stay at home, training, and they were not catching up in terms of courses and everything. But then I would like to believe maybe one other thing that has exposed these referees, it's not that they were not bad, because this is not the first time we have had issues with referees. But now what has happened is people are watching these games now. People are watching these games. The likes of ZTN have come through. They are screening these games. People are seeing the highlights. I think that's one thing that has exposed our referees of the things that they used to do and get away with them. And then they will just read in the paper, the reporter saying the referee was unfair. But where is the evidence? Chaure was all over the internet the next day. They were left with no choice but to suspend him. What if there was no technology there to capture that moment? What would have happened? Because people have complained about referees in the past. Maybe I think it's something that has just been exposed, but it has been there already.
Yes. And then we saw the Chibuku Super Cup finally, being almost concluded. Now we now know our finalists. The semi-finals were played on Saturday and Sunday, with Ngezi beating Cranbourne just by 1-0, and then Dynamos losing to FC Platinum by 1-0. Ngezi versus Platinum in the final. It's a repeat of 2017.
Yeah.
Who do you think is the strongest team between the two of them?
That's a tough one, That's a tough one, because I think in the group stages, the Ngezi won the first leg, and then FC Platinum won the return. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that was the result. But going into this one, I feel Ngezi at the moment they have the upper end. I think they have the better players. I think the form of Denver Mkamba, the Bruno Mtikos, I think they have an edge over FC Platinum at the moment.
And then we saw on Saturday, National Sports Stadium being turned into a swimming pool, and there are already issues over the years we've been talking about. I mean, maybe transforming to follow the international calendar that starts in August and ends in May. But our stadiums, again, the talking point, National Sports Stadium, the biggest stadium in the country, being turned into a swimming pool where Dhlakama and his counterpart, the fact that the game should have been cancelled was they were like, you couldn't, the ball was not even moving around. Where are we in terms of our stadiums not really being, we thought by now our stadiums would be able to cope with the rains.
In terms of the stadiums, I think I don't think we are anywhere. To say the truth, I don't think we are anywhere. I'm not quite sure about Baobab. I'm not quite sure about Mandaba, how their drainages are. But here in Bulawayo, I'm quite sure Luveve has a better drainage, because I remember in 2018 when Highlanders played Chicken in a cup final, the match had to be abandoned and it had to be moved to Luveve the next day because BF had flooded. Has there been work since then at BF? Nah.
I doubt if there's been anything to do with the drainage systems.
Yeah. So we are back into that same scenario. So I think it's a crisis. I'm not quite sure how we are going to handle it, but it's a crisis, and I think the coaches must be ready for more water polo matches.
Crisis indeed is Schizo. And then just quick to round things off, the Sables losing to Namibia 41 points to 10, and we're playing Namibia next year again, most likely in the World Cup qualifiers, semi-finals. Lady Chevrons losing to Thailand. I thought maybe Thailand with a better chance of playing Thailand. What do you think chances in this World Cup qualifier in regards to the Lady Chevrons, Schizo?
I thought we should have beaten Thailand if we wanted to have an edge in these qualifiers. But now we have to face the likes of Pakistan. I think our chances are a bit slim now. But I believe the ladies will cook something up. I think they will. Yeah,
we're hoping that Lady Chevrons, captained by Mary Ann Musonda, will recover from that defeat to Thailand and do wonders in the remaining matches. But it's not easy. We are playing in Bangladesh. We just taught them tough lessons out at Queen's Sports Club in the three-match series. And you're playing Bangladesh and Pakistan. Those are powerhouses in cricket, and they are really, fighting hard to qualify for the World Cup themselves. It has been another edition of the Sunday Live podcast, where we brought to you the sports rapper. And keep tuning in. Like we said, the season is too young. 21-22 season in terms of football is too infancy. We're hoping to bring you more and more, joined by Fungai Mderere and of course Innocent Korira, as we go deeper and deeper into the issues to do with the sport.